Hello everyone, it's me again. Today I will recap the movie Spider-Man: No Way Home. This is one of the most anticipated superhero movies in the Marvel Universe, continuing the story of Peter Parker. The movie opens with a video of Mysterio revealing Spider-Man's identity as Peter Parker. People began to be upset when Peter Parker killed his idol Mysterio. Peter hugged MJ and flew through the buildings. Peter's information spread everywhere at a dizzying speed. Just when he was taking a break, he was discovered by the people. Peter hugged MJ and flew down the sewer. Flying over the train is running. Finally, he arrived at Peter's house. At this time, Uncle Happy was flirting with Aunt May, suddenly hearing a strange noise. He ran in to check, seeing Peter standing naked with MJ. Happy immediately turned away shyly. Aunt May also advised the two to use safety measures. Peter worriedly pulled all the curtains, but the TD betrayed him. Outside, helicopters surrounded Peter's building. Very quickly, the police came to Peter's house to work. They also invited him and his friends to the police station. He was bailed out by a talented lawyer. Suddenly a brick flew in, which was captured by the lawyer. On it was written, "We believe in Mysterio." Peter's aunt and Peter moved to Uncle Happy's apartment to stay. That night, Peter made a video call with MJ. He said that since he was bitten by that spider, bad luck had been coming to him. The next morning, the couple held hands and went to school. At this time, everyone was crowded around. The group was divided into two opinions. One side supported the idol Peter, and the other side supported the late hero Mysterio. Inside, Peter was welcomed when they learned that he was a superhero. Peter and NJ are showing affection, but their friend Ned came looking for them. Peter saw NJ was sad, so he held her hand and comforted her. A few days later, Peter received a letter from MIT. Peter was so happy that he ran straight to the bakery to show it to MJ. They opened the letter together, but all three of their faces suddenly darkened. It turned out that they were both rejected by the university because of their connection to Spider-Man. Although he did not say it, Peter saw the frustration of his two friends. He decided to ask the Sorcerer Supreme Strange for help. Wong said that the time gate was broken, so it was affected by the snowstorm. Dr. Strange asked Peter to tell him what happened. Peter asked him to help Peter reverse time. Strange also wanted to help Peter, but he no longer had the time stone. Strange remembered a mysterious forbidden magic, but in return, everyone would forget all memories of Peter. Strange led Peter into the Sanctum Temple. He began to form seals, circulating magic to open the time stream. Then, he recited the spell. The whole world would forget that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and that included Strange. Peter heard that and begged Strange, "Can you exclude a few people?" Strange said that these things could not be changed while chanting the spell, but Peter begged Strange to exclude his girlfriend NJ first, then his right-hand man Ned. Strange warned him not to change it again, but Peter remembered Aunt May and Uncle Happy again. This was what disturbed Strange's mind. The power of the secret magic had backfired on Strange. Peter screamed in fear, making Strange lose focus even more. Strange could no longer hear, because the magic had exceeded his limits. A strange space appeared in front of Strange. He used his energy, controlled the secret magic, and locked it in a sphere. Strange was extremely annoyed with this boy Peter. It was also because Peter changed so many times that Strange's magic exceeded its limits. He explained to Peter that it was not Mysterio's fault, but because Peter had lived two different lives. If this continues, it will only get more dangerous. Strange then kicks Peter out and closes the door. Peter calls Flash to ask for information about the college admissions person, on the condition that Flash declares that he is Spider-Man's best friend. Peter transformed into Spider-Man, flew to the street to find the teacher. Then he flew down, back to being a student. Peter tried to convince the teacher that MJ and Ned were very talented. While talking, Peter discovered danger. The concrete slabs on the road began to collapse. He warned the teacher to get out of the car immediately. But when the driver escaped, he locked the door. Up ahead, the cars were pulled down by something. An iron tentacle appeared from the misty fog. It turned out to be Dr. Octopus Otto Octavius. He looked at Peter, then demanded the solar ball back. Seeing that Spider-Man had uncompromising intentions, he threw a few cars into the river. Peter shot webs to save the people, but he himself was wrapped in the old man's tentacles. Otto Octavius grabbed Peter's head and threw him into the teacher's car. Then, Otto Octavius threw him into a police car. Peter used his spider legs to fly to confront him. Otto Octavius was very happy to see that, and playing with the little spider. Although he had a good armor, Peter was still treated like a game by Otto Octavius. He even intended to use the helicopter to cut Spider-Man to pieces. Spider-Man jumped down, then he hit Peter with several concrete pipes. Peter dodged east and west, but could not escape Otto Octavius's attack. He jumped out of a car, spun webs to pull the teacher's car back, and the teacher escaped death. Taking advantage of the moment Peter dropped down, Otto Octavius used his tentacles to grab Spider-Man. Dr. Otto Octavius swung his tentacles to tear a piece of armor from Peter's body. Unexpectedly, the nanotechnology of the armor was synchronized with the tentacles. He intended to use a move to finish off Spider-Man, but when the mask was revealed, the tentacle stopped again. This is not the face he was looking for. At the same time, Peter's armor had updated the new device. It immediately connected to the new device, and the tentacles now immediately listened to Peter. Peter used one arm to pull the teacher's car up. This made the teacher change her view of Spider-Man and accept to give his friends the opportunity to go to college. Peter wondered why Otto Octavius hated him so much. While talking, a sphere flew over and exploded. The Green Goblin flew down from above. The space suddenly changed strangely. It turned out that Dr. Strange had locked these people up. Because the previous ritual failed, it had attracted people who knew Peter from the multiverse here. Strange assigned the task of finding and capturing these people to Peter. Strange activated the magic weapon, locked Peter in a cage, then pulled Peter out, and handed the magic weapon back to Peter. The prisoners next to him saw it, admiring it. Peter introduced the cages to his two friends. Ned even laughed at Connors for being a dinosaur. Ned took out his computer and phone to surf social networks, and very quickly discovered a monster flying in space. Peter then flew on the power line. The two friends saw ahead, threw a phone on Peter's chest. At this moment, the lightning bolts behind Spider-Man began to accumulate. Peter immediately waved his magic weapon, shooting spider webs at him, but the webs penetrated his body. Seeing this, the Electric Man shot lightning to attack Spider-Man. The two friends distracted Peter, which caused him to be hit by lightning and fall face down on the ground. The fierce Electric Man swung his lightning, wanting to tear Peter apart. Fortunately, the Sandman suddenly appeared and shielded him. Peter asked him to help him block the Electric Man so he could capture him. The Sandman turned into black mist, twisting Electric Man inside. Spider-Man shot webs at the power poles, using force to pull off the cables, and very quickly, the Electric Man was completely controlled. Mark returned to his human form, surprised that this place was very strange. Peter explained that this was not their universe. Then Spider-Man took both of them to prison. Sandman was furious that he had just helped Peter. Mark realized that Dr. Connors was also imprisoned. Dr. Connors also recognized Mark, after a long time no see. The next morning, Osborn was back to normal. The Goblin Mask despised him as a coward. Osborn picked up a rock and smashed the mask. Aunt May called Peter to tell him that one of the people he was looking for was at home. Peter panicked and ran home in his Spider-Man costume. But surprisingly, Osborn was very gentle. He begged Peter to free him from the monster. Aunt May also advised Peter to help them. Peter agreed to take Osborn to Strange's house. Osborn realized that Dr. Otto Octavius was also there. It turned out that they were all killed by Spider-Man, but for some reason, they was here. Strange appeared and locked Osborn inside. He brought the ancient relic that had sealed the spell from before, and it would reverse the spell, sending these guys back to their universe. Peter did not accept because he wanted to save these people. Strange said that fate could not be changed. He used his magic power, wanting to change the spell, but unexpectedly Spider-Man took the box and ran away. He also locked Strange inside, but Strange still walked out comfortably. But how could Spider-Man escape Strange's hands? Strange confiscated the magic weapon and used a magic rope to tie Spider-Man and drag him back. Strange waved his palm, sending Peter's soul flying out. Strange tried to take the box back, but Peter's body did not let him touch it. Peter swam back into his body. He tries to escape, but is caught by Strange, who throws the cloak to capture Peter. He also brought Peter into the glass world. Peter was spinning until his head was dizzy. Strange waved his hand. The space in front of him began to change. Peter jumped through countless stairs and bookshelves to escape. Strange followed closely behind, knocked him down onto the train, and tried to get the box back, but Spider-Man took it away. Angry, Strange brought the entire city above, suppressing Spider-Man. He explained the danger when Sanctum Sanctorum lost control. Peter said he understood but still wanted to change their fate. The train rotated and transformed, flying straight up into the sky. Strange decided to let Peter fall endlessly inside it. However, Peter used spider silk to secure the cloak. Strange threw a magic rope. pulling the box back into his hand. This power broke the glass space, sending both of them flying far away. Peter realized that this space was like a geometric shape with a trajectory. He immediately calculated the formula to bind Strange. Strange opened the door to leave and found himself bound. Peter took back the box and borrowed the magic ring, then returned to reality, leaving Strange in the mirror world. Peter said he could help people not die when fighting Spider-Man. Dr. Lizard warned Peter that if he changed the fate of others, he would have to suffer the consequences. Peter asked MJ and Ned to keep the box safe. He decided to take these people back to Happy's house. Sandman sat on the sofa. Peter started the machine that Uncle Stark left him. Electric Man's eyes lit up as soon as he saw the arc reactor. Peter analyzed how to make a new chip for Dr. Otto Octavius. Aunt May asked Dr. Octavius if he was thirsty, and asked if he wanted spring water or salt water, because he was an octopus. Peter successfully created a chip for Dr. Octavius, which Octavius spent his whole life researching, but Peter only did it in an hour. Peter inserted the replacement chip into Octavius, and he was completely back to himself. Octavius thanked him and returned a part of the armor to Peter. Norman also created an antidote serum for himself. Peter created a machine that extracted electricity from Max's body. The journalist came to the door of the house to pry into Spider-Man's story. Peter felt that there seemed to be some danger nearby. He shot webs at Norman, but it turned out that the Goblin personality had taken over Norman. Aunt May immediately held the antidote and sneaked out. Norman thought that this was not a curse but a gift. This made the Electric Man regret his divine power, so he took action to steal the arc reactor. Then he absorbed the electricity of the entire building. The elevator lost power, so Aunt May ran downstairs. When the Electric Man absorbed the power of the entire building and the arc reactor, he immediately attacked and sent Otto Octavius flying. The Sandman took advantage of the chaos to quietly leave, turning into a cloud of sand that swept everything away. Up here, the Green Goblin had a life and death battle with Spider-Man. Peter was non-inferior, pushing him down. But the Goblin was extremely vicious. Each move he made was intended to take Peter's life. Spider-Man went crazy and punched him repeatedly in the face. He pushed Peter down and escaped. Peter climbed out, but was ambushed by Kirk Connors. The Goblin took the opportunity to hug him and jumped straight down. Aunt May ran down and bumped into Norman. Norman strangled Peter, criticizing him for being too cowardly and weak. Aunt May took advantage of the opportunity to inject the serum into him, but unexpectedly, it was a fake. He grabbed Peter's neck and intended to use the hoverboard to skewer Peter to death, but the hoverboard flew straight at Aunt May. Norman Osborn jumped onto the hoverboard and leapt at Peter with a mocking face, then threw the bomb at Peter, and turned to run away. Stepping outside, he threw a few more bombs, blowing up the whole area. Aunt May woke up and saw that Peter was fine, so she happily hugged her nephew. Peter was blaming himself for disobeying Strange's words. Aunt May comforted Peter that he was given a gift of great power, which would come with great responsibility. Peter cried out in pain, begging for someone's help, but it was too late. After saying that, Aunt May also passed away. Perhaps this was the price Spider-Man had to pay for changing the fate of others. Happy also returned in time, seeing that his lover had gone forever. Happy was heartbroken, giving Peter the last chance to escape. When the police entered, there was no one inside. The journalist had another chance to mock Peter, that where there is Spider-Man, there is disaster. MJ intended to activate the box to bring the bad guys back to their universe. While talking, Ned accidentally opened the space door. He shouted that he wished he could see Peter Parker again. Unexpectedly, the space door opened and Peter's silhouette appeared. Peter heard someone calling and ran to the place. Grandma was scared. Spider-Man took off his mask, and it turned out to be another Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man. Ned and MJ did not know who this was. He said he was Peter Parker. Yesterday he was still in his world, but now he did not know why he was here. He jumped and grabbed the wall to prove his identity as Spider-Man, but MJ still wanted him to crawl around to prove it. Grandma also asked Amazing Spider-Man to help her clean the spider webs. Peter was ready to show off some superhero skills, cleaning the spider webs. Finally, MJ also believed that this was Peter Parker, but the portal was already closed. Ned continued to open a new portal. He said that, "Find Peter Parker." The ending this time was even more surprising, summoning Tobey Spider-Man. He also called himself Peter Parker. The two Spider-Men stared at each other like enemies. Tobey Spider-Man quickly shot his webs to attack first. Amazing Spider-Man was surprised by the strength of a senior. Both Spider-Men felt that there was a junior here who needed their help. MJ led the two seniors to help Spider-Man. Both understood the loss that Peter suffered. Peter kept blaming himself for Aunt May's death and apologized for dragging his seniors into this. Tobey also confessed that Uncle Ben's death was also related to him. He went crazy hunting for the culprit who killed Uncle Ben. It took him a long time to get out of that dark area. Amazing Spider-Man also lost the person he loved the most, Gwen. She was his MJ, but even though it was very painful, he still chose to move on. So he didn't want his juniors to be like him. The three realized the similarity between them. Uncle Ben said, "Great power comes with great responsibility." The three heroes went to Midtown High to create weapons to fight evil. Tobey created a serum for Norman Osborn, and Amazing created an antidote for Kurt Connors. Ned asked Spider-Man if Tobey had a best friend. He replied that he did, but he died in his arms. Ned walked over to Peter in a daze, and said that they would pretend they never knew each other. MJ comforted Peter that they would get through everything together. Ned remembered something and called Peter, but all three guys stood up, because all three guys had the same name, Peter Parker. Their plan was simple: lure a bunch of them to heal, and then take them back to their universe. Spider-Man Tobey saw that his younger brother had to make silk. He used his hand to shoot silk out, showing off a bit to his younger brothers. Amazing Spider-Man looked at his senior brother like an idol in awe. Ned would be the one to take the group to the Statue of Liberty, because he now had Doctor Strange's magic. That night, Peter live-streamed on YouTube, saying that he was at the Statue of Liberty. He challenged the criminals to find him, then arranged the spider web into a trap. Spider Tobey felt that he was getting old and had a bit of a backache. Amazing even pulled his brothers back. Amazing said it was great that he still had his brother and brother. Little Peter curiously asked Spider Tobey if he could shoot webs from anywhere else besides his hands. At this moment, a streak of light flew over from afar. Max was floating in the air, telling little Peter to give him the box. Seeing that Peter was not friendly, he had no choice but to chase after him and snatch it back. Amazing said goodbye to his old friend and threw the box to MJ. But Ned didn't know how to close the door. Below, Kurt Connors crawled up from the water. Amazing dodged Max's countless lightning bolts. Little Spider wanted to help, but was caught by the Sandman. Amazing struggled to dodge the lightning. Spider Tobey fought with Kurt Connors. The Electric Man shot a bolt of lightning that broke the crane, fell down, and cut off the Sandman's arm. The crane collapsed, trapping Kurt Connors underneath. At this time, the Sandman sucked in a lot of sand to create a whirlwind around the statue. Seeing that the situation was very tense, the three guys joined together and divided up their tasks. The three Spider-Man joined forces to attack. The villains were not inferior, fighting the three Spider-Man together. They split up. One lured the Sandman, the other lured the Electro, and the last one brought Lizard. Amazing Spider-Man captured Lizard, locked him in a cocoon, and Tobey was followed by the Sandman and buried in the sand. Amazing Spider-Man jumped into the air and threw a magic weapon to the youngest Spider-Man. The youngest Spider-Man turned on the device and threw it to Tobey. The divine light illuminated an area, causing the Sandman to return to normal. The three Spider-Man returned to a place to celebrate. Electro went crazy and shot lightning at all three guys. The three Spider-Man split up to hold his two arms, but were all defeated. In the end, the youngest Spider-Man was electrocuted and hung in the air, while the eldest Tobey was shot to the ground. Kurt Connors escaped the trap and saw the space door. He rushed like crazy, wanting to tear the two people apart and take back the treasure. Amazing kicked him, then he and the old man decided to fight to the death, but Connors threw him aside and ran after the box. On this side, Electro was happily torturing the youngest Spider-Man. Tobey was about to fly up and pin the device to him, but Dr. Octopus caught him. He said he would deal with Spider-Man, but in fact it was a diversion. He controlled the Electric Man himself, then stole the arc reactor, and activated the device, draining all the electricity in his body. On this side, Connors tried to chase after Ned and MJ. Ned opened the space door, causing the water in the river to push Connors back. MJ threw Amazing a bottle containing the antidote gas. Connors bit into the gas, which covered his body and gradually returned to his human form. Ned opened the door again, wanting to go back, but unexpectedly rescued Strange. He took back his magic weapon, then asked Ned who opened the gate. Max told Amazing that he was out of power now, no need to fight anymore. Otto Octavius held the arc reactor and praised, "The kids are so smart now." He was happy to see his student Peter who had grown up. Strange blamed the boy for making him float for 12 hours. Strange was surprised to see three Spider-Mans in front of him at the same time. The Green Goblin returned to throw a grenade at Strange. He grabbed the box and ran away, but was caught by Otto Octavius. Strange used a magic rope to retrieve the box. All three Spider-Man saw a grenade in the box. The terrible explosion caused Captain America's shield to fall, dragging MJ along. The Green Goblin wrapped around the little Spider-Man and flew away. Amazing saw this and immediately jumped to help MJ escape death. This reminded him of his lover. Strange failed to suppress the spell, causing it to spread throughout the universe. The shield collapsed from above. Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus took turns saving people. Ned was protected by the cloak. The space cracks grew larger and larger, bringing creatures from the multiverse. Strange stood on the altar, swinging his pawn to strike the void to reconnect the twisted spaces. Spider-Man broke the flying board, causing the Green Goblin and himself to fall to the ground. Norman criticized Peter for being cowardly and weak, then swung his knife wildly at him. The unequal battle ensued. Norman wanted to kill Peter with every move. Peter shot webs, dragged the Norman, without giving in. Peter hit Norman and used a flying board to finish Norman off, but was stopped by his older brother Tobey. The Green Goblin took the opportunity to stab Tobey. He smugly thought that May's death was Peter's fault. Amazing threw the serum for Spider-Man to inject into Norman. Norman quickly regained his senses and did not know who he had hurt. Tobey saw the space before his eyes change, thinking he was about to die. Countless strangers from the multiverse appeared from inside the cracks. Strange said that they were all attracted by Peter. Spider-Man wanted Strange to continue the ritual, to make the whole world forget who he was. Strange looked at Peter as a relative, and told him that he did not need to call Strange sir anymore, just call him senior. Then he told Spider-Man to say goodbye to everyone. Peter flew to thank the two brothers for helping him. He considered the two Spider-Man as his elder brothers in the family. Then, Peter flew to hug his two best friends. Peter said that this was probably the last time they would talk to each other. He would find Ned and MJ again in the future. MJ was afraid that he would no longer remember that Peter was a very important person to him. Ned gave his best friend a final high five and hugged his best friend. Peter hugged MJ and gave her a warm kiss. Up above, Strange had performed a spell. A divine light sent the people who did not belong to this universe away. The two Spider-Man also said goodbye to each other. Peter said goodbye to his two friends for the last time and flew away. Strange used magic to make the void holes disappear. Now, perhaps no one would remember Peter Parker as Spider-Man anymore. The old journalist was still on TD digging up who that Spider-Man was. Peter went to NJ's bakery. Seeing NJ waving but saying hello to Ned, Peter asked NJ for a cup of coffee. Now Ned and NJ have been accepted to MIT. Peter congratulated NJ on being accepted to MIT. MJ looked at Peter and felt very familiar with him. Peter saw the scratch on her forehead, asked NJ if it hurt. Peter tried to look at NJ for a long time, then thanked her and left. Peter visited Aunt May's grave, gave her a flower. Uncle Happy also came to this place, asked Peter if he knew her. After a while of not seeing each other, Happy seemed to have aged. Peter returned to the old house, which was very empty inside. He decided to become Spider-Man with the ideal that Aunt May had told him. The greater the power, the greater the responsibility. In a scene introducing the sequel, Eddie and Venom asked for news about the Avengers. He decided to go to New York to find Spider-Man. Venom used his magic to disappear. The movie ended here. Perhaps when changing someone's fate, you have to accept the consequences. Spider-Man is no longer alone when he knows he still has two brothers. Although Spider-Man's fate is always bitter, perhaps the fate of the world depends on this guy. I wonder what will happen when Venom joins the Spider-Man hero. Thank you very much for supporting the channel to develop like today. If you find it interesting, please give me a like and a comment about this movie. Especially, please subscribe to the channel to follow my movie recap. See you again, my dear friends.